Johannes Kepler was born on December 27th, 1571, at the free imperial city of Velderstadt. His father Heinrich Kepler earned a precarious living as a mercenary, and he left the family when Johannes was 5 years old. He was believed to have died in the 80 Years' War in the Netherlands. He was introduced to astronomy at an early age and would develop a love for it that would span an entire life. At age 6, he observed the Great Comet of 1577, writing that he was taken by his mother to a high place to look at it. At age 9, he observed another astronomical event, a lunar eclipse, in 1580, recording that he remembered being called outdoors to see it and that the moon appeared quite red. However, childhood smallpox left him with weak vision and crippled hands, limiting his ability in the observational aspects of astronomy. In 1589, Kepler attended the University of Tübingen. There he studied philosophy under Vitus Müller and theology under Jacob Heerbrand, until he became Chancellor of Tübingen in 1590. Despite his desire to become a minister near the end of his studies, Kepler was recommended for a position as teacher of mathematics and astronomy at the Protestant school of Graz. He accepted the position in April of 1594 at the age of 23. Johannes Kepler's first major astronomical work, the Cosmographic Mystery, was the first published defense of the Capricornian system. Kepler claimed to have had an epiphany on July 19, 1595, while teaching in Graz, demonstrating the periodic conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. Kepler thought he had revealed God's geometrical plan for the universe. Much of Kepler's enthusiasm for the Capricornian system stemmed from the theological convictions about the connection between the physical and the spiritual. The universe itself was an image of God, with the Sun corresponding to the Father, the stellar sphere to the Sun, and the space between to the Holy Spirit. Kepler received permission from the university to publish his manuscript. Mysterium was published late in 1596 and was not widely read, but it established Kepler's reputation as a highly skilled astronomer. In December of 1595, Kepler was introduced to Barbara Müller, a 23-year-old widow twice over, and he began courting her. Barbara and Johannes were married on April 27, 1597. On the 4th of February 1600, Kepler met Tycho Brahe. Over the next 2 months, he stayed as a guest, analyzing some of Tycho's observations of Mars. Tycho guarded his data closely, but was impressed with Kepler's theoretical ideas and soon allowed him more access. Kepler attempted to negotiate a more formal employment arrangement with Tycho, but negotiations broke down in an angry argument with Kepler. Kepler and Tycho soon reconciled and eventually reached an agreement on salary and living arrangements. In June, Kepler returned home to Graz to collect his family. Political and religious difficulties in Graz dashed his hopes of returning immediately to Brahe. On the 2nd of August 1600, after refusing to convert to Catholicism, Kepler and his family were banished from Graz. Several months later, Kepler returned, now with the rest of his household, to Prague. Through most of 1601, he was supported directly by Tycho, who assigned him to analyzing planetary observations. In September, Tycho secured him a commission as a collaborator on a new project he had proposed to the emperor, the Rudolphine tablets. 2 days after Tycho's unexpected death on the 24th of October 1601, Kepler was appointed his successor as imperial mathematician, with the responsibility to complete the unfinished work. The next 11 years as imperial mathematician would be the most productive years of his life. Kepler's primary obligation as imperial mathematician was to provide astrological advice to the emperor. In addition to horoscopes for his allies and foreign leaders, the emperor sought Kepler's advice in times of political trouble. As he slowly continued analyzing Tycho's Mars observations and began the slow process of tabulating the Rudolphine tablets, Kepler also picked up the investigation of the laws of optics from his lunar essay in 1600. Both lunar and solar eclipses presented unexplained phenomena, such as expected shadow sizes, the red color of the total lunar eclipse, and the reported unusual light surrounding the total solar eclipse. Through most of 1603, Kepler paused his other work to focus on optical theory. The resulting manuscript presented to the emperor on January 1st, 1604, was published as the optical part of astronomy. He also extended his study of optics to the UNI. Today, the optical part of astronomy is generally recognized as the foundation of modern optics. The extended line of research that culminated in a new astronomy began with analysis under Tycho's direction of Mars' orbit. In the first months of 1610, Galileo Galilei discovered 4 satellites orbiting Jupiter. Upon publishing his account as Starry Messenger, Galileo sought the opinion of Kepler, in part to bolster the credibility of the observations. Kepler responded enthusiastic with a short published reply, Conversations with the Starry Messenger. He endorsed Galileo's observations and offered a range of speculations about the meaning and implications of Galileo's discoveries and telescopic methods. Later that year, Kepler published his own telescopic observations of the moons, providing further support to Galileo. During 1611, Barbara Kepler contracted Hungarian spotted fever, then began having seizures. As Barbara was recovering, Kepler's 3 children all fell sick with smallpox. Then Barbara relapsed into illness and died shortly after. Also around 1611, Kepler circulated a manuscript of what would eventually be published posthumously as The Dream. Part of the purpose of The Dream was to describe what practicing astronomy would be like from the perspective of another planet. The manuscript disappeared after changing hands several times, described a fantastic trip to the moon, and is sometimes described as the world's first work of science fiction. In 1615, he completed the first of 3 volumes of Epitome of Capricorn Astronomy. Books 1, 2, and 3 were printed in 1617. Book 4 was printed in 1620, and Book 5 through 7 were printed in 1621. Despite the title, the textbook became Kepler's most influential work. It contained all 3 laws of planetary motion and attempted to explain the heavenly motions through physical causes. In 1621, Kepler published an expanded 2nd edition of Mysterium, half as long as the original, detailing in footnotes and corrections the improvements he had achieved in the 25 years since the first publication. In 1623, Kepler at last completed the Rudolphine Tablets, which at the time was considered his major work. However, due to the publishing requirements of the emperor and negotiations with Tycho Brahe, it would not be printed until 1627. Kepler moved to Ulm, where he arranged for his printing of the tablets at his own expense. In his final years, Kepler spent much of his time traveling, from the imperial court of Prague to Linz and to Regensburg. Soon after arriving in Regensburg, Kepler fell ill, however. He died on November 15, 1630, and was buried there. His burial site was lost after the Swedish army destroyed the churchyard.